The long-awaited nightmare is over. Coming at you from the Beaver County Auto studios up above Market Square here in downtown Pittsburgh. I am your host, Mike Asti, and this is another edition of Mic Drop on Pittsburgh Sports Live. Now, while all of you are busy taking to the streets and celebrating and popping bottles because Le'Veon Bell missed his 4 p.m. deadline, we're well past the hour here at the Beaver County Auto Studios, but he missed the deadline, didn't sign the franchise tag, ineligible now for the rest of this season. There's no more chance of Le'Veon Bell and the Pittsburgh Steelers having a brief marriage this year and him playing for the Steelers, and the questions of will he or won't he show up that I've been asked to contribute on many articles that I've had to touch on here and that I've had to be made part of my coverage of the Pittsburgh Steelers this season, unfortunately. That's all over. That's all gone, and you guys are weirdly happy about that. That's what you're telling me. You're happy about that. And why are you happy? Well, you're happy, namely, because of this. Because of James Conner. 164 carries, 771 yards, 10 touchdowns, another touchdown receiving, several more 100 yards as a receiver, really filling the bill for Le'Veon Bell and then some. Historic open to the year as one of the best running backs in football so far from what we've seen for James Conner. Can't deny that at all. And that's made you guys happy. Well, I'm here to tell you why that doesn't make any sense and why that's kind of stupid. Now, this was touched on by Alan Saunders on the last Football Friday before we got to this Tuesday and before we got to him missing the 4 p.m. deadline and Le'Veon Bell days of the Pittsburgh Steelers now being over, officially at least for this year, but most likely over overall. You didn't want him then, and Alan told you that why would you not want an all-pro running back on your team, even if it's just for the rest of this year, when you're a Super Bowl winning team, you're a Super Bowl caliber team, you believe. You're in a Super Bowl hunt. You're in win-now mode. You're leading your division. You're one of the top teams in the AFC. There's the Chiefs, there's the Patriots, of course, but you feel like you have a chance to win a championship this year and put a ring on your finger this year. You're in win-now mode. And got to get you there for the Pittsburgh Sports Live YouTube channel. Click there to subscribe and make this easier for us to get our content to you, and you immediately know when we have it. But Le'Veon Bell makes the Steelers better. Alan brought it up, and it's really evident now. It really, really is. Because, yes, the Steelers played incredibly well on Thursday night. And, yes, they dominated the Panthers, and they were really impressive in the game. And, yes, the offense is clicking on all cylinders. And James Conner, again, played really, really well as a back and as a receiver. And his work as a receiver has actually been more impressive than anything else. And that was the one part of the game that I did not think he could replace for Le'Veon Bell. I did not think James Conner could be as adequate as a receiver, could do as well in blitz protection, could even block as well, and just do everything as well as Le'Veon Bell, who was arguably the best back in football overall, and that was part of this. He wanted paid more than just as a running back. He felt like he was an offensive weapon, and he wanted paid as a receiver too. Well, James Conner has been that guy for the Steelers, not only as a running back, but also as a wide receiver. Throw the numbers up there for you again. It's clear. 771 yards just as a runner. It was several more 100 yards as a receiver. 10 touchdowns on the ground. One more through the air as a receiver. Got a little bet with former NFLer, former Pitt All-American, and former Steeler even, Dorn Dickerson, who I've done shows with in 93.7 The Fan, and I said he wouldn't have even 8 touchdowns this year. Well, Conner way over that, so he beat me on the bet. But that's not everything, guys, because think of it this way. Yes, production-wise, you haven't missed Le'Veon Bell, but James Conner could get hurt. In fact, right now, James Conner is reeling from being in the tent on Thursday Night Football, is reeling from potentially having a concussion, being in concussion protocol, having to get through that before the next game, and having that be questions that Mike Tomlin had to answer. It wasn't just about Bell. There was some about James Conner and his availability and how healthy he is. And he's a guy that has had a career marred with injuries. And I'm not talking cancer, nothing he could do there. But even with the Steelers last year, this is sophomore season. Last year, injury there. That's why he wasn't really able to have a year and really get going, in addition to having be behind Le'Veon Bell. And he's seized opportunities. He played really well. He's absolutely filled in production-wise. But it's not just about James Conner and his success on whether you would or would not want Le'Veon Bell. Le'Veon Bell not being with the Pittsburgh Steelers the rest of the year means this. And Alan touched on this, but I'll go at it again because it's even more true now. James Conner better be healthy the rest of the year. Not only healthy, but he better be as close to 100% as possible. And he better be able to really tote the rock and really get beaten down with carries the rest of the year. And that goes into the postseason. That goes in the slum of the months of December and maybe January, depending on the weather here in Pittsburgh, which I'm sure is going to get bitter cold, and maybe Mother Nature will bless us with some snow this year. So it's not going to be easy. He's done it through half a year now, but he's never done it through an entire season, and no reason why he couldn't. But Ridley, there's been no protection. There's no security for James Conner if he would go down. That would have been the case for the rest of this year, at least, if Le'Veon Bell came back. You could have figured out a way to work them both in there together. Maybe Le'Veon Bell more as a receiver, James Conner more as a runner. Maybe somehow you split carries. James Conner would be the starting back. He certainly earned that. But maybe Le'Veon Bell would spell him at a time, would be that Marshall Faulk type running back that he was when he was an All-Pro, and maybe even be able to do it better because he's actually facing less tackles on his body. He would have liked that. That was the whole point of missing this year. He would have been able to preserve himself more. He would have had less car crashes on his body. But he would have at least been there to provide some production and certainly able to fill in if James Conner would go down. And they wouldn't have to worry about Ridley or anybody else and what they're doing as a running back because, first of all, we barely are able to see them. I asked Mike Tomlin in the press conference today that was all about Bell, but I nudged in a little question on James Conner playing well after concussion protocol, still in there early fourth quarter in a blowout win where you're up by 30 points. And just seemed unnecessary. Why you can go to somebody else at some point. But Tomlin rides his back. He rides his horse. That's what he did with Le'Veon Bell. That's maybe why Bell didn't love it. But that's what he's going to do with James Conner. And if James Conner's healthy and everything's the way it's been, fine. You'll never miss Le'Veon Bell. Maybe he was so annoyed by him. It's a subtraction by, or addition by subtraction. Subtraction by not seeing him. It's an irrelevant subtraction, I guess you could say. But it's just insane to believe that you're better off without an all-pro running back, without somebody who's so skilled, who's so great that Le'Veon Bell is. You're not better off without him. It would have been great to have him and James Conner. Look at the Patriots and Eagles last year in the Super Bowl. They both employed multiple running backs to get there. Most teams do, with the exception of maybe the Rams and Todd Gurley. Most teams do. Most teams employ multiple running backs in order to have success through the grind of a long NFL season, especially in cold weather months here in the East Coast. Can't just be James Conner and expect him to be healthy through not only this year, but in beyond, as he'll be the starter, I would imagine, next season. There got to be some complementary force that many thought Conner could be to Bell. Well, maybe Bell could have been that to Conner. Maybe then you'd have two all-pro running backs and have the best offense in football, bar none, because you'd have all-pros all over the slate with a future Hall of Famer in Big Ben, Antonio Bryant, the best in the world, all-pro in Juju Smith-Schuster, James Conner, the Pro Bowl season he's in the midst of having, and then Le'Veon Bell, former all-pro. Not bad to have that. It's not bad to have that. Now, getting away from the fact that, well, this is reality, regardless of how you feel, you guys are celebrating across the street and popping bottles because you're not going to have to deal with Le'Veon Bell, as somehow that doesn't make sense to me. And the fact that I wish he was there, because that would be better for the Pittsburgh Steelers and better for business and better for the team to have more success and be more relevant throughout a season. You figure you'd rather have an all-pro running back in Le'Veon Bell in the fold than not, but that's not reality because he's not there. He's not there. He's not coming back. It's over. So the questions of whether or not he'll be there are done. There were reports of week 7, went to now week 11. That seemed to make the most sense, but he's going to miss $14 million. That's right. That's the game check he's dropping. You guys already know this, but there it is. The unbelievable has finally happened. Ian Rappaport. Le'Veon Bell officially gives up $14.5 million from the franchise tag in an attempt to stay healthy with hopes of a big payday in free agency in 2019. James Conner to the feature back. Hopefully, he stays healthy. As I said, Le'Veon Bell out. He will not play here now in 2018, the rest of 2018, and then next year there's a whole different drama that could erupt there, but most likely you're going to be seeing Le'Veon Bell on a new team. And whether he'll get the payday, we'll decide whether this is relevant. If he gets his bag, if he gets the straight hash homie and the guaranteed money, then doesn't matter whether the team's good or not. That's irrelevant. He wants the money. So if that happens, then he won this. If not, then maybe he played his hand poorly. And regardless, he gave up $14.5 million, and he might want to have that back if either the rap career doesn't turn out, wink, wink, or he doesn't get the guaranteed money that he thought he would elsewhere in the open market that may or may not be hurt by the success of James Conner. People saying that Le'Veon Bell's doing this for the cause of future players to fight against the franchise tag, and I kind of get that. The franchise tag is for the teams. It benefits the teams. It is somewhat a negative for the player, especially an elite player, especially a running back with a short shelf life, because if you sign on and then you break your leg, you're going to get whatever guaranteed money you had in your career, but you're not going to get the big bag. You're not going to get the $40 million guaranteed Todd Gurley money. You're going to get whatever you had previously. They just cut you, release you. You wouldn't get the rest of your contract. NFL contracts not guaranteed. If you sign on for a 5-year deal, you're hurt. Career's over in year 1. Whatever guaranteed money is all you get. Any signing bonuses. You don't get the rest. It's not Alex Rodriguez's Major League Baseball contract and those type of albatrosses. It's not that on franchises. So I get fighting against the franchise tag, but it could go the other way, where James Conner's success now could easily tell teams to further be against paying running backs and further be against offering the straight cash homie and the bag and all the guaranteed money to running backs, because then they could say that the Steelers especially, but certainly many teams based on history and based on the success of recent Super Bowl champions and representatives and teams that went far in the playoffs, it takes multiple running backs, and the offensive line deserves the credit. The Steelers, look at them. They could plug in anybody, whether it be Bell or James Conner. That offensive line is so great that offensive line is why they both were able to have equal success. The common denominator is the offensive line. And maybe you wouldn't be wrong, but that would certainly tell teams, why would I want to give $40 million guaranteed to a running back, especially if there's going to be a long-term deal after that, when I have an offensive line that's great, so I can get somebody else who's cheaper and maybe have success. So it could go the other way against Le'Veon Bell and what he's trying to do here, his cause. But he gave up $14.5 million this year to fight that fight against the franchise tag and maybe pave the way, maybe be the Jackie Robinson of sorts for NFL players against the franchise tag for the next CBA. I highly doubt it, but that's what he's trying to do. More power to him. Nothing against the current CBA, nothing illegal that he's doing, nor was it for the Steelers. But there's been so much talk about just pure hatred of Le'Veon Bell for doing this. And I don't mean to play the heel here. And the Steelers would have been better off if he would show up. They want the all-pro running back. And I get him lying to his teammates and how horrible that is. And I get the teammates' angst about this. And I certainly get the perspective that teams may not want to pay the running back because they have great offensive lines and they feel like they can plug anybody in. But I also get Le'Veon Bell's point a little bit. I really, really do. I said this before, got flack, and honestly, I'll say it again and get more flack probably sent my way. I want to paint this picture here in terms of what's really out there and what was offered. Because the Steelers, look at the Steelers' last offer to Le'Veon Bell. This is before last offer. Back in July, they couldn't make any more offers once the season started. But the last offer to Le'Veon Bell. Ian Rappaport again there. Steelers' final offer to running back Le'Veon Bell. 5 years, $70 million. And the greater context and the more important part of this here is as it goes down further. The fully guaranteed part was his signing bonus of just over $10 million. He would have made $33 million over the first 2 years in a rolling guaranteed structure, $45 million over the first 3 years. And that's a rolling guarantee structure of guaranteed money. The main signing bonus would have been just over $10 million. Le'Veon Bell said no, said nah, said no thanks, didn't sign that, and we now get here where after week 11 he's going to miss the entire year, doesn't report, and is going to miss the $14.5 million this year to fight against the franchise tag, which they did place on him after him turning down that deal. After the 5-year, $70 million deal, the final offer they made to Le'Veon Bell before we got to the franchise tag and then got to this point. $10 million guaranteed, the rolling structure, 30 plus, 45 plus after the first few years on a rolling structure, but $10 million on a signing bonus. Now flip that into comparison, because he said no to that deal, and people are still now saying he turned down a decent deal. He turned down a great deal. He's greedy. Well, it's about your market value. It's about wanting to get respect among your peers. And now Todd Gurley. Here we go with Todd Gurley. Much younger. He is significantly younger for sure, but Le'Veon Bell felt like he was just as good, if not a better back. Again, maybe not true, but that was in Le'Veon Bell's mind. And you look at all the guaranteed money for Todd Gurley, the 21.9 guaranteed money, the fully guaranteed money, no matter what. Flip it over to David Johnson, 26. So this is more around the Le'Veon Bell age range. 24.6, fully guaranteed money. Annual contract of $13 million. Again, Todd Gurley here. Annual contract of $14.3 million. 21.9 fully guaranteed. And Le'Veon Bell's guaranteed offer in terms of guaranteed money. Now, the overall contract of $70 million, 5 years, nothing to be mad about there. And I get why the Steelers would want to have a lot of it maybe front-ended and they wouldn't want to worry about the back end. And I get the fact they maybe didn't think he was even going to get to year 5. And I get the running back position. I get the Steelers' perspective. But $10 million guaranteed. Now, there was a rolling structure that maybe could allow more money coming in. There was more guaranteed money off either bonuses or as the contract goes on, more could come. But Le'Veon Bell's concern is, and what he wanted was the bag, but the bag of guaranteed money. The difference of Todd Gurley and David Johnson's contract is not overall value or years. Le'Veon Bell had a fair deal there, but they were receiving more guaranteed money from the jump, regardless of bonuses or years and etc. They were going to get guaranteed money that was eventually going to get them more guaranteed money, regardless of what they do. Whether it be more or less overall years through the 4 or 5 years of the contract is irrelevant to Le'Veon Bell. That's what I keep trying to express. Le'Veon Bell wants the guaranteed money. That's what he wanted before. $10 million guaranteed money, 26, 21. When you look at Todd Gurley's contract, which was offered to him after Le'Veon Bell turned down his own, and then you saw a little tweet there from Le'Veon Bell about, see what I mean? It was something to that effect after Todd Gurley signed. Is the Le'Veon Bell, the last offer the Steelers made, no longer looked that great, at least not on guaranteed money side of the deal. And that's really what Le'Veon Bell cared about. Now, whether he'll get that in the future, it probably has been diminished. He probably won't. His value has probably been diminished by missing a year, by going through this drama, by James Conner's success, by the Steelers' offensive line, by the feeling of plug and play with any running back when you have a great offensive line, by the fact that Le'Veon Bell is now a year older with maybe less fresh legs in terms of he's fresh, he hasn't played, but maybe there's rust he needs to shake off. Is he in football shape? He's hanging out with strippers down in Miami most of the year. Is he in football shape? He's been in Pittsburgh for a couple years. Maybe maybe not. Played basketball at LA Fitness. Again, is he in football shape? That's a question teams are going to want to know. They're not going to have tape from this past year. They're going to have to go two years back now. And the further you go back, usually the worse your value is for professional athletes. Because they don't want to pay you from the past. They want to pay you for the future. And Le'Veon Bell has yet to prove that in the future, he'll be as good as he was in the past. So, again, I get where Le'Veon Bell was coming from. I get it. But you guys are right in the sense that he played his cards poorly. He's going to lose all this money this year. 14.5 is what it'll eventually become, as he's missing all these game checks. 855, I believe, thousand a week. James Conner has played very well. The Steelers haven't missed him in terms of production so far. The offensive line could give credit, whether it be, or give credit to James Conner, maybe a little bit of both. I'm sure they both, James Conner would give credit to his O-line, and they would give it right back to him. But if James Conner goes down, there's no security now. And I think most Steelers fans, when they look at it, if they look in retrospect, if James Conner does suffer an injury, because this will be brought up again then, God forbid, or really anybody of a sound mind when you really think about it, you need some security there. The Steelers have none. Ridley's not going to cut it. They need James Conner to be 100% healthy now the rest of the year, which is another 8+ games as they hope to be in the postseason and beyond. So he's done it to this point, but if you win a championship, you're looking at almost 10 games again. And will he do it from then on? You would figure, but is he going to be healthy? Would you not like security? Would you not like an all-pro running back to make your offense better, even as impressive as it was, and add more security for James Conner? It doesn't hurt to have an all-pro running back, aside from any of the drama. And I think the team would have rather had a great player, a former all-pro. They would have found a way to make it work. Tomlin's told us he hasn't, put much into it, but put much thought into it yet because it would have been wasting time. I don't know if I believe him there or not. I'm sure they did think about it. But they could have found a way to make it work. Teams use multiple running backs all the time. It wouldn't have been rocket science. It wouldn't have been revolutionary. It's been done and could have been done with these two backs that complement each other well, both Pro Bowlers in James Conner and Le'Veon Bell. Bell not there, though. So you guys get what you want. There's no more Bell. There's no more all-pro running back as a security. It's now the James Conner show. We'll see. Hopefully he's healthy and there's no reason to bring this up again. But, and admittedly, you look at the numbers here. James Conner's played better than expectations, played better than my expectations, and I can't deny that James Conner's right now on a Pro Bowl pace. I mean, he's one of the best backs in football with the exception of Todd Gurley and maybe a couple others. In terms of consistency, he's only been a couple bad games. He's really been on a hot streak right now. And after concussion protocol and him getting out of that, he was banged up last week, was in the concussion tent. Seems to be fine, though, for the rest of this week based on the reports around the Steelers. But you'd like to have that security. They won't, though. Regardless, the reality is Le'Veon Bell's gone. He's gone for good, I feel comfortable in saying. The saga is over. He didn't report on the deadline, and the helicopters flying over, and everybody popping bottles because they don't have to deal with the drama that is Le'Veon Bell anymore. That's done. But this will get brought up again if James Conner gets hurt and then Ridley's your back and you lose in the postseason because you have no running game, make yourself one-dimensional with no experience around James Conner now and really no work around James Conner throughout this season, and the Steelers lose a chance at a ring. They would have loved to have Bell there, have protection for Conner. They both play well, even if it's for just the rest of this year. They win a championship, and then he can go ahead and tell Bell to F off and worry about whether he gets the bag or not from another team. But having that security would have been a plus. It would have been a positive. Allen said it on Football Friday. I'm going to say it now here on Mic Drop, and it's just a fact. You're not better off without an all-pro running back who formerly was one of the best in football and could be that again whenever he decides to play. But if he gets the bag, if he gets the guaranteed money like David Johnson, like Todd Gurley, some team maybe will pay him with cap space. There will be teams that need a running back that'll have the space next year in the offseason. Then, hey, then he did right. And yes, he lost his 14.5, and that will suck for him, I'd imagine. But maybe the rap career will take off. Or maybe he'll get it back and then some in his next deal. Who knows? But most likely, this isn't going to impress anybody. They're going to feel like the offensive line or James Conner kind of hurt his value, and he'll get certainly interest from teams. They will want him. He'll have a job if he wants it in the National Football League. And even as a starter and a premier back probably on some teams out there, the Colts, the 49ers, the Jets, just to name a few that pop into my mind. But to say he'll get the money that he thought he was going to get, the money that he wanted guaranteed-wise, or the money that Todd Gurley and David Johnson on the comparables have got, that's doubtful. And if that's doubtful, then you're adding the $14.5 million that he lost throughout this season, and the Steelers then won this war, and he then is the loser. But if he gets it, then he's the winner regardless of losing the money. Egg is not on his face, and then we'll see what the future holds for who's better between him and James Conner. But he really just wants the money. He wants the guaranteed money. So it's not as much about who's better, what team is good, whether he'll win a championship or not if the Steelers would win this year without him. And I'm sure they wouldn't give him a ring then. But he just wants the bag. So whether or not he gets the bag is really all this about. But I understand some defense of Le'Veon Bell's position. I think he played his hand poorly. I think he's going to lose the money. I think the value is not going to be there. And I think this will go the other way from what many are saying he's going to do now for future players against the franchise tag. I feel like it's going to go the other way. Teams are going to now be less likely to pay running backs, not more likely. So inadvertently, Le'Veon Bell actually might have hurt the market for those at his position in the future. This, though, has been another gold quality edition here of Mic Drop on, there it is, Pittsburgh Sports Live. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Make sure you click subscribe. Click the subscribe button there on the YouTube channel. Also, follow us on Twitter at PGH Sports Live. Follow myself at Mike Asti 11. Go to our website, pghsportslive.com. Go to Pittsburgh Sports Now, Pittsburgh Soccer Now, Pittsburgh Hockey Now, and all through the circuit there at our family of networks. Find our content. It's all golden quality, whether it be analyzing the game, previewing games, recapping games, or really just discussing the drama around Pittsburgh sports, which I feel like is almost what I bring to the table based on Le'Veon Bell and how it's been for most of the Steelers season this year, and even around the Pittsburgh sports spectrum. I kind of fill that niche at least, but I don't mind talking about what's asinine. Somebody's got to do it. The Le'Veon Bell, though, saga, it is over. It is behind us, but man, it'll creep up again. And I do want to make this clear. It'll creep up again. And as much as Tomlin told us today at his press conference, the day that Le'Veon Bell did not report that he understands the business, and I don't deny he does, understanding the business. And that clip's out there on our Pittsburgh Sports Live YouTube channel, so find all the Tomlin clips. That one's there. He understands the business. But there might also be, and as much as they want an all-pro running back to be some security, I'm sure there might also be at least some sigh of relief around the Pittsburgh Steelers that, hey, we don't have to at least wonder. You won an All-Pro. You do. As a backup, as a starter, regardless, it doesn't make the team worse on the field, regardless of people being annoyed by Bell or not. But at least a sigh of relief now for the Steelers, for Mike Tomlin, that they know now for sure there is an answer. They don't have Le'Veon Bell this year. Some like it. Some more rationally realize that it's not a positive to lose an All-Pro. And then it'll remain to be seen next year who's the winner from the saga of the Pittsburgh Steelers versus Le'Veon Bell. But keep checking your watch because it's past the hour. And Le'Veon Bell, he's in Pittsburgh somewhere. He's hiding out somewhere. But he's not at the Steelers facility. And it wouldn't matter now anyway. He'd be arrested as it is well past the deadline. So you are done with him throughout this season. His days as the Pittsburgh Steeler overall, I'd imagine, are numbered. But boy, would it be kind of hilarious if they try to lay a transitional tag there on in the offseason and then we have to go through more of this. But that'll just be funny. He can still test the open market, and that'll be a whole topic for another day. This has been, though, another gold quality edition of Mic Drop on Pittsburgh Sports Live. I am your host, Mike Asti, conquering sports radio one day at a time.